What if I told you that women can sense weakness in a man before he even speaks a word? It's not something you wear on your sleeve. It's in your posture, your tone, the way you carry yourself through life. Most men are completely oblivious to these signals, but women pick up on them instantly. This isn't just intuition, it's psychology. Evolution wired women to seek strength, not brute physical dominance, but emotional resilience, leadership, and self-assurance. When a man lacks these qualities, it's like a silent alarm going off in her subconscious mind. But here's the thing. Weakness isn't what you think it is. It's not about failing or making mistakes. Those are part of growth. Real weakness lies in your inability to handle adversity, your obsession with validation, and your lack of control over your emotions. As Stoics, we know that true strength comes from within. It's not about external bravado, but mastering your thoughts, responses, and reactions. Today, we're breaking down 7 ways women see your weakness, often without you even realizing it. Recognize these patterns, eliminate them, and watch how people respond differently to your presence. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. And when it comes to how women perceive your strength, your reactions are everything. If you react with self-control, you project power. If you react with fear, you project weakness. And the difference is felt instantly. 1. You seek constant validation. One of the most glaring signs of weakness is a man's craving for approval. Women can sense when your confidence is dependent on their attention or praise, and nothing repels them faster. Psychologists call this an external locus of control, where your self-worth is dictated by outside opinions rather than your internal values. Men who constantly seek validation are like empty vessels waiting for someone else to fill them up. This creates a dynamic where you're always performing, always needing to be enough. How does this show up? You fish for compliments. Do you think I did a good job? You change your opinions to match hers to avoid conflict. You become desperate for responses to texts or social media likes. You measure your worth by how she responds to you. This is a trap because it makes you reactive. You are not leading. You are following. You are waiting for her to tell you that you are okay. And that waiting is what she feels. She feels the weight of your need. She senses that your emotional state depends on her approval. And that weight is heavy. It makes her want to pull away. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "Seek not the good in external things, seek it within yourselves. Stop looking outward for approval. Instead, develop your own metrics for success." Ask yourself, did I live today according to my principles? Did I act with courage and honesty? If the answer is yes, you need no applause. Women are naturally drawn to men who are self-assured, who don't need constant reassurance because they know who they are. By becoming internally validated, you project strength without saying a word. The Roman emperor Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." When your thoughts are colored by the need for validation, your soul reflects that. You become desperate, reactive, and easy to manipulate. But when your thoughts are colored by self-assurance, your soul reflects that too. You become grounded, present, and strong. And she will feel that. She will sense that you are not waiting for her approval. And that sense of independence is what makes her want to earn yours. 2. You avoid conflict at all costs. Weak men fear conflict. They mistake being agreeable for being likable, thinking that saying yes to everything will make them more attractive. But women see right through this, and they lose respect for it. In psychology, this is called submissive communication, where you suppress your own needs to keep the peace. Over time, this creates resentment both within yourself and from others who sense your lack of backbone. How does this show up? You agree with opinions you don't believe in to avoid tension. You apologize excessively even when you've done nothing wrong. You back down immediately when challenged. You avoid difficult conversations because you're afraid of how she might react. This is a form of cowardice. Not because you are afraid of physical danger, but because you are afraid of emotional discomfort. You are afraid of her disapproval. You are afraid of losing her. And that fear is what she feels. She feels your hesitation. She feels your willingness to sacrifice your own truth to keep her happy. And that willingness tells her something important. It tells her that you do not value yourself enough to stand up for what you believe. It tells her that you are not a leader. It tells her that you are not strong. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the object of life is not to be on the side of the majority, but to escape finding yourself in the ranks of the insane. Being stoic doesn't mean avoiding conflict. It means engaging in it wisely and calmly when necessary. Practice assertive communication. Express your opinions clearly and respectfully without aggression. Women respect men who stand their ground with dignity. Remember, strength isn't about dominance. It's about knowing when to speak and when to stay silent without fear guiding your choice. When you can disagree with her without being disagreeable, you show her that you have a spine. You show her that you are not afraid of her. And that is attractive. Seneca wrote, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence on the future." When you avoid conflict because you are anxious about the future, you are not enjoying the present. You are constantly worried about what might happen. And that anxiety is palpable. It changes your energy. It changes the way she experiences you. 3. You can't control your emotions. A man ruled by his emotions is a ship lost at sea. Women are deeply perceptive to emotional instability, whether it's outbursts of anger, jealousy, or insecurity. These reactions scream weakness because they signal a lack of self-mastery. Emotional volatility often stems from a lack of awareness and poor coping mechanisms. Instead of processing your feelings calmly, you react impulsively, driven by fear or ego. How does this show up? You become defensive when criticized. You overreact to minor inconveniences. Jealousy consumes you when she talks to other men. You lash out when you feel slighted. You let your mood be dictated by her responses. This is a form of slavery. You are not free because your emotions are not your own. They belong to whatever external event triggers them. And she can see that. She can feel that you are not in control of yourself. And if you are not in control of yourself, how can she trust you to handle the challenges of life? How can she feel safe with you? The Stoic solution is found in Seneca's words, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Emotional mastery starts with understanding that your feelings are not facts. They are temporary reactions to external events. Practice mindfulness and reflection. When you feel anger or insecurity rising, pause, breathe, observe the emotion without acting on it. Over time, this builds resilience and calm under pressure, which women find incredibly attractive. A man who can remain composed in chaos signals strength far more powerful than any physical display. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. When you have power over your emotions, you have power over yourself. And that self-possession is what makes her feel safe." 4. You talk more than you act. There's a saying, "A lion doesn't have to tell you it's a lion." Yet too many men fall into the trap of talking endlessly about their dreams, intentions, and abilities without ever showing proof of their worth. Women pick up on this instantly. They hear the lofty promises, the bold declarations, and the endless someday plans, and they know it's all just hot air. Why does this signal weakness? Because talk without action is insecurity in disguise. It's an attempt to seek validation through verbal displays rather than tangible results. A man who constantly talks but fails to act reveals that he's unsure of himself. He's trying to convince not only others but also himself that he's capable. This behavior is rooted in what psychologists call impression management, the desire to shape how others see you. But here's the irony. The more you talk about what you're going to do, the less impressive you become. Words are cheap. Action is rare. Women respect men who don't just make promises, but quietly deliver results. When a woman hears a man endlessly bragging about his future successes, she knows she's dealing with someone who lacks discipline and follow-through. He's not a builder. He's a dreamer stuck in idle fantasy. Signs you may be falling into this trap include: you constantly tell people about your goals but never take measurable steps toward them. You exaggerate your achievements to seem more impressive. You make promises you can't or won't keep, and you spend more time planning than executing. A man who talks more than he acts becomes predictable and untrustworthy. Women are naturally drawn to those who do the opposite, those who move in silence, surprising others with their accomplishments rather than their empty boasts. Epictetus taught, "No great thing is created suddenly," And action is what creates great things. Not words, not promises. Action. When you act, you prove your worth. When you talk, you only prove that you can talk. And she knows the difference. 5. You blame others for your problems. A man who refuses to take responsibility for his life might as well wear a neon sign that says, "I'm weak." Nothing turns off a woman faster than a man who plays the victim, constantly pointing fingers at the world for his shortcomings. This behavior stems from a fragile ego that can't handle failure. Blaming others is a defense mechanism. It shields you from facing the harsh reality that your problems are often self-created. But here's the catch. By refusing to take accountability, you also forfeit your power to change your circumstances. Women instinctively know this. They recognize that a man who blames others is a man who will never grow. He's someone who will wallow in self-pity, never rising to meet life's challenges head-on. This kind of mindset signals weakness because it shows a lack of resilience, maturity, and emotional intelligence. How does this manifest in daily life? You complain about your boss, your job, or your co-workers without taking steps to improve your career. You blame your ex for the failure of your past relationships without acknowledging your own role. You chalk up your lack of success to bad luck instead of taking responsibility for your actions. You find reasons why things can't be done instead of finding ways to make them happen. This is a form of learned helplessness. You have convinced yourself that you are powerless. And that conviction is what she feels. She feels your resignation. She feels your lack of agency. And it repels her. Women are drawn to men who own their mistakes because accountability signals strength. It shows that you have the courage to face adversity and grow from it. Conversely, a man who refuses to take responsibility becomes stuck, stagnant, and unattractive. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." When you waste your time blaming others, you are wasting the opportunity to grow. You are wasting your potential. And she can see that. 6. You struggle to say no. A man who can't say no is a man without boundaries, and women can sense this instantly. At first, they may appreciate your willingness to be agreeable, but over time, this behavior signals a deeper problem, a lack of self-respect. When you say yes to everything, you're not being kind or generous. You're being spineless. You become a people pleaser, bending over backward to gain approval and avoid conflict. And here's the harsh truth. People, including women, don't respect those who can't stand up for themselves. The inability to say no often stems from fear. Fear of rejection, fear of disappointing others, and fear of conflict. But this constant compliance creates a vicious cycle. The more you say yes to things you don't want to do, the more people expect it from you. Eventually, you lose control of your own life, becoming a passive participant instead of an active leader. How does this weakness show up? You agree to social events or favors even when you're exhausted or uninterested. You let others take advantage of your time and energy without pushback. You avoid saying no because you don't want to seem rude or selfish. You let people walk over you because you are afraid of what might happen if you stand up for yourself. This is a form of self-abandonment. You are abandoning your own needs for the sake of others. And that abandonment is what she feels. She feels that you do not value yourself. And if you do not value yourself, how can she value you? Women respect men who have clear boundaries and the courage to enforce them. A man who says no when necessary signals strength, confidence, and self-respect. Without these qualities, you come across as weak and easily manipulated, a dynamic that quickly erodes attraction. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." When your thoughts are colored by the fear of rejection, your soul reflects that. You become compliant, agreeable, and forgettable. But when your thoughts are colored by self-respect, your soul reflects that too. You become firm, grounded, and respected. 7. You lack purpose. Perhaps the most profound signal of weakness is a man who drifts through life without direction. Women are naturally drawn to men who live with intention, who have a mission, a passion, or a purpose driving them forward. A man without purpose, however, becomes invisible, blending into the background as just another aimless wanderer. Purpose isn't about fame, wealth, or grand achievements. It's about having a reason to get out of bed in the morning, a goal, a passion, or a set of principles that guide your actions. Without this, life becomes hollow, marked by distraction and meaningless pursuits. A man lacking purpose often exhibits the following behaviors. He spends hours scrolling through social media or binge-watching TV without a sense of accomplishment. He drifts from job to job without any clear career path or ambition. He prioritizes fleeting pleasures like partying, meaningless hookups, or material possessions over long-term growth, and he has no sense of direction or vision for his future. Women sense this lack of purpose because it radiates from your actions, your conversations, and even your body language. It signals stagnation, a refusal to strive for something greater. Conversely, when a man has purpose, everything about him changes. His energy becomes magnetic. He moves with confidence and speaks with conviction. He doesn't need to seek validation because his fulfillment comes from within. Attraction isn't just about looks or charm. It's about the life force you carry, and purpose is the foundation of that force. Without it, you become forgettable. With it, you become unforgettable. Epictetus taught, no great thing is created suddenly, and purpose is no exception. It is created through the accumulation of small choices, each one reinforcing the last. Each time you choose to pursue something meaningful, you build that purpose. And as you build it, it becomes part of your identity. And that identity is what she will respect. So there you have it. 7 ways women can spot weakness, often before you even realize it yourself. But here's the truth. Recognizing these patterns isn't about becoming obsessed with external validation or manipulating how others see you. It's about self-mastery. The Stoic path teaches us that real strength begins within. When you develop emotional control, confidence rooted in action, and a clear sense of purpose, you naturally project power without saying a word. Women notice it, people respect it, and most importantly, you respect yourself. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus also taught, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. And when you react to life's challenges with self-control and purpose, you are reacting from strength. You are not being controlled by your circumstances. You are controlling your response. And that response is what makes you a man of substance. Marcus Aurelius wrote, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. When you realize that your power comes from within, you stop seeking validation from outside. You stop avoiding conflict. You stop being ruled by your emotions. You stop talking more than you act. You stop blaming others. You stop struggling to say no. And you start living with purpose. That is the path to becoming the man women respect, the man people admire, the man you were meant to be. If you found value in today's video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. We're here to help you navigate life with wisdom, strength, and purpose. Stay grounded, stay disciplined, and I'll see you next time.